live and in real time on GLC, on cable, TV towers, and around the world. We're waiting for Avi Lipkin to join us. There is war in Israel, and we are very thrilled to have Avi if he can join us. We're about to find that out. We know that we should pray for the peace of Israel, for the peace of Jerusalem, and there's a lot of things happening right now. Unfortunately, you're not able to trust your news sources or the mainstream media, but you can trust GLC. That's why it's very important to support GLC. Go to glc.us.com and support GLC. Your gift is tax deductible. You can count on GLC. I tell many people when I'm doing my interviews, this is the last bastion of American freedom, true journalism that tells the truth. It's not for sale. And so we are so thrilled to be able to come to you live in real time, 5 different city TV towers. And of course, all the online platforms, cable and beyond. So we encourage you to go to glc.us.com, glc.us.com, and support what's going on. You'll see plenty of new programs as well. Very exciting times in West Texas. As you know, Israel is at war. We're not getting the story. I know that you're not from the mainstream media. In the midst of an attempted peace accord, the Biden administration has informed Egypt that it will not participate in the peace accord if Hamas and Hezbollah, 2 non-nations, 2 terror organizations, are not involved in the peace treaty. Well, they're not nations, but that's the Biden administration for you. And of course, we know that he's not in control. But it looks like Avi is joining us right now, and I hope that Avi is doing well. Avi Lipkin, it looks like you're joining us. We're already live on all the platforms. I'm hoping that you're there. All right, how you doing there, Avi?
Wonderful, wonderful. And you?
I'm doing fine. Let's get you more centered in the shot there, my man. We want to see that handsome mug there. Throughout this time, folks, you can go to biblicalalliance.com, biblicalalliance.com. Very beloved Avi Lipkin, in real time, in the flesh, so to speak. I'm just happy you're able to join us. Avi, what is happening right now, boots on the ground?
Well, firstly, before I talk about boots on the ground, I have to say that yesterday was a very, very big day in our lives because my granddaughter, Moriah, graduated her officer course. I think I sent you a movie of the
yes, you sent the video. Yes,
short video, and we're very proud of her. And I went through officer training at age 40 as an Israeli Army spokesman, but there was no shine, no glitter, there was no marching and Army band and everything. This was a big deal yesterday. 700 new officers in the Israeli Army. It was about 6 hours of driving, almost to Eilat, so it was a big day for us. And we're extremely happy because it's the next generation. Everything is good. We're here. Boots on the ground. We are, I think it is fair to say, we are again, shall I say, in quiet before the storm. And let me explain. The Iranians launched Saturday night, Sunday morning, missiles, over 300 launches at Israel. And we're very happy that the American military was with us, the British, even the Jordanian military helped out because the U.S. military had its anti-rocket rockets on Jordanian territory. But the launch, even though it didn't cost any lives on the Israeli side, I think they said that it cost $46 billion because of what we had to launch to intercept the 320 missiles. I understand part of it is going to be paid for by Israel, but the U.S. military is also participating. The American military, the British, received a lot of hands-on experience dealing with these rockets. And you have to remember, Iranian rockets are Russian rockets. and the United States borders are open to missile attack. And so the U.S. military has gained tremendous experience. And as a result of the near perfect response of the Israeli anti-missile missiles, Israel is going to be receiving a lot of orders from militaries all over the world to protect their own countries from terrorist missiles or Russian or Chinese missiles coming in. And as far as the Iranians are concerned, it was a big flop. Their missile attack was a failure. People voted with their feet by driving to the nearest gas station, waiting for hours online to fill up their tanks. But as far as Israel is concerned, as you know, the U.S. Has said to Israel, don't attack Iran, don't attack Lebanon, don't attack Gaza. Everything, when Biden says don't, he's referring to Israel. And because he said to the Iranians don't, and what do? They attack. And nobody's paying any attention on the Arab side to what Biden is saying. I mean, the flip side is that the U.S. military, and I've said this on your show many, many times, that the U.S. and the Israeli militaries march in lockstep. And I'm very pleased about that. Boots on the ground. I mean, we had a general from commander of CENTCOM in Europe, U.S. General Eric Kurilla. I keep thinking gorilla, but it's not gorilla, it's Kurilla. And he was sitting in the most secret of secret places in the Israeli military, helping to coordinate the I don't want to say the counterattack. There was no counterattack, but to coordinate the defense moves of the various air forces. And in that sense, it was a massive victory. The problem is that what we need, and this is what the commentaries in Israel are, that Israel needs to attack our three major oil export areas. The Iranians cannot refine their own oil. The Iranians export the oil, and then they buy the refined gasoline. If Israel or anybody takes out those three crude oil platforms, Iran has no income. And the way to stop the wars with these people is to stop the income from flowing into the coffers of the Iranian military, Iranian government. Also, I would venture to say another thing. I see things in a much bigger view. I think that the Iranian regime has to be replaced. The Ayatollah regime is totally bankrupt. They're also bankrupt ideologically. The Iranian people, we're getting contacts every day from the Iranians begging Israel to go into Iran and to help the Iranian people to rise up against the Ayatollah regime. And you have to remember, I mean, the United States, I don't understand the United States. The United States is supposed to be working to overthrow that regime and bring democracy to the people of Iran. Don't forget, you have axis of evil, which is Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. If you take out the Iranian military, you've taken out one of the four countries of the axis of evil. You're left with North Korea, China, and Russia. So listen, I know the real reason. The real reason is money. And
of course.
And I knew you were going to say that.
Well, Biden has grown rich from money from all sides, especially from China, and giving billions of dollars to Iran. And we're wondering why?
Wait a second. If the Iranian oil goes out, China will be lacking oil because China gets 90% of its crude oil from Iran. And if you take out the crude oil, the Chinese government goes bankrupt completely. That will affect the world financial situation. Biden wants stability with China and Iran. And the only one, I think, the only one in that area who will be happy about something like that happening is Russia, because Russia is totally isolated anyway. And Russia is exporting to China oil. So I mean, that's an interesting point also. So that's regarding Iran. So at this point, we have a lot of Iranian Jews who live in Israel, and they also comment on what's going on in Iran. And they've been saying very, very clearly that the Iranian regime is bankrupt. The Iranian money isn't worth anything. I mean, if you live in Iran and you want to buy something, you have to pay in U.S. dollars. And so they're saying that Iran is teetering on the brink of total bankruptcy. And you've got 90 million Iranians. They're suffering with this government, and there's no freedom. People are being executed in the thousands. I mean, this is a horrible anti-human being system. So it's very, very important to get rid of that regime. So I don't know, if the United States simply just wants to maintain stability, financial stability worldwide. Anyway, now the next story, of course, this is a multi-front war. And we have a problem north of our border where they are shelling our civilians, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim. They're selling them to heck. A lot of these people have to flee to hotels near the Dead Sea or Eilat or Tel Aviv or Haifa to get out of the range of the missiles. I mean, we've been very patient for a full 6 months. And I don't know how long that can continue. I think that the Israeli military, we have tic-tac-toe now. We have to go through, finish Hamas in Gaza, which means taking over Rafah. Once we finish with that, then we can dedicate almost all our military forces to defeating Hezbollah in Lebanon. I've mentioned this many times on your show. This is the second tentacle of the Iranian octopus. Once you get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah, then we can get rid of Iran. But many people are saying, the Iranian commentators are saying, leave Iran alone because they're going to collapse of their own folly. There's no need.
Well, without the United States' continued help, billions of dollars and
yes.
Midnight flights, pallets of cash. Obama started that, and Biden has continued it. And I would think just stop the funding to terrorism from the Biden administration, and you take care of the Chinese problem since they're dependent upon Iran for oil. But shutting down the Keystone Pipeline on day one of this, this puppet's first day in office to try to cripple the middle class of America. Of course, the rest of their cronies, their goons. With overregulation, trying to not only tax in the trillions, unaccounted for tax dollars by the working poor in America. I think a whole lot would be solved if we just quit funding terrorism and vote the Democrats out of office. That's just my opinion.
I have to tell you something else also, that Cuba, which is a communist country, a la Russian style, and Venezuela is now an Islamic, Shiite, Iranian, Chinese, communist country full of missiles that can hit the United States at any time. So I think that the United States, what the United States is trying to do is to pay for slay, pay for the Venezuelans to produce more oil instead of the Keystone Pipeline, and give the Venezuelans whatever they want to keep them quiet. But I think that once you get rid of Iran, the Venezuelan dictatorship of Moreno, gets taken out completely. Maduro.
Well, Fox News said today, Iran's president issues stark warning to Israel as tensions reach boiling point after brazen attack. What kind of warning can he give Israel when they just attacked Israel? Oh, but don't you hit us back. So coward Biden, coward president. Don't hit us back, but we want to attack you anytime we can. You just mentioned Cuba. If Cuba launched missiles, what would the United States do? Well, I'd like to say we would retaliate, but underneath this joke of a president, would we retaliate?
If Cuba fires missiles at the United States will say to the Cubans, okay, how much more money do you want us to pay you so you'll stop firing missiles at us?
The ultimate cowardice. Winston Churchill said trying to appease an opponent is like feeding a crocodile, hoping he'll eat you last. It's lunacy, but it's greed too. A lot of millionaires, a lot of billionaires in the government now, at your expense, folks. What are you going to do? You need to call your representatives. They're more concerned with being reelected than what's best for you. They're growing rich and they're enjoying their mini mansions. But you need to call them and put pressure on them that you will not vote for them again unless they oppose this corrupt policy towards Israel. Israel has the right to defend itself. And as long as they're being funded very well by this administration and the left and the rhinos, why should they stop? Why change when they don't have to? So it's very important. Call your representative. Can you do that? Can you call your representative? I know where you can go to find out who your representatives are. Most of you don't even know who your representatives are. If you go to Act for America, actforamerica.org, then you can find who your representatives are and call them. They consider one phone call to represent 1,000. So if only 40 people, 40 in each area or city calls their representative, right, or state, they consider that 40,000 people. They will pay attention because, after all, that's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. They want to keep in office, keep making that money. So you need to let them know you will not reelect them if they do not oppose this ridiculous policy towards Israel. Biden is the reason why the peace accord didn't go through. He wanted Hamas and Hezbollah to be a part of that. They're terrorist organizations. They're not nations. So, what else can we do besides call our representative and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, Avi?
Well, I have to tell you, if you remember, we had 134 hostages underground in Gaza being held captive. And now that Hezbollah says they only have 20 left. In other words, they killed everybody.
They raped them and killed them, the men, women, and children.
Yeah. And wait a second. Why should Gaza return the hostages when Biden says, no, we back Hamas? And Biden said that, Israel should not touch Hamas. After he said that Israel should destroy Hamas, then he says he's going to support Hamas. And then at the United Nations, the United States abstains from issuing a veto, which was something we needed. So
it's very important. The people vote. Avi, a lot of Americans are disheartened. They're thinking, what does it matter if I vote? Well, if you don't vote, you're voting for communism. You're voting for the Communist Party. The Democrats of the JFK era are gone in leadership. It's the Communist Party. You support it when you don't oppose it, folks. You support it when you don't oppose it. And for those of you who vote for it, you're supporting it too. You betrayed your country. You need to wake up. You need to align yourself. You claim to be a Christian. You claim to love Israel. You need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. You need to vote accordingly. You need to take action. I know that trendy pastor in those mega churches that like to be leftist and woke will encourage you who not to vote for. But you know what? They're just false prophets. They're just puppets. They're cowards. And there's a good chance they're part of the Association of Pastors in America that are paid to support this attempted transition into communism. That's right. People like T.D. Jakes align with Obama and his organization. And the list goes on and on. I used to be a fan of T.D. What has happened to you, man? What has happened to you? On another note, another attempted a measure of the Communist Manifesto in emasculating American men. We recently had a male stripper and a stripping pole at a men's Christian strongman conference. John Lindell, you need to come out of the closet and step down. That was very, very wrong, very evil. What has happened to the men? We need real men to rise up. We need real men to take action, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, to contact their representatives, to do something. And it's up to us. No one's coming to save you guys. We got to come together and we have to pray and act for America and for Israel. And so, Avi, I know another way that we can support you. You've recently had people step up their contributions to your organization as they should. You haven't been able to travel in good conscience, leaving your family during this time of war. That's by going to biblicalalliance.com. It's also going to your local Chase Bank and helping Dennis Avi Lipkin during this time. You've made history with the Bible Block Party. You continue to write your books. So grateful for you. How else can we support you, Avi?
Well, I've said this many times before. I can say to you, please pray for Israel. If you don't know what you're praying for, then your prayers are of naught. And so, in order to understand what you're praying for, you've got to get educated about what's happening in the Middle East. You've got to get educated, especially pastors, those who subscribe to this crazy, crazy ideology of Chrislam, meaning that Christians and Muslims pray to the same God, which is complete nonsense. Muslims pray to the God of Allah, the moon God, the war God, the sword God, whose bottom line is kill the Jew on Saturday, kill the Christian on Sunday.
Right.
So pastors who join this Chrislam movement and pray with the Muslims to the same God are basically praying for Satan. And we have to make sure that pastors all over the world know that Chrislam is a complete evil, and pastors who support it are either evil or ignoramuses. All this requires a lot of prayer that people will come out of the darkness. And it's not just about Israel. It's about the United States too, because if Christians pray in a Chrislam movement, and many churches that are sometimes nearing bankruptcy, the Muslims bail them out of bankruptcy on the condition that they join the Chrislam movement. So that's a totally bankrupt ideology. So anyway, so do that, and then after that, start praying, get on your knees before God, and also pray for the Jews, because many Jews don't really understand what the heck is going on. Many Jews in America are just happy living in the United States, the greatest country club for the Jewish people in history. So you got to pray for the Jews, you got to pray for the Christians, you got to pray for Israel. There's so much going on. All of this is covered in my 7 books. And I recommend people get the 7 books. Oh, by the way, book number 4 of the 7 books is about the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party. I was about to send it to the publisher this week, but then we got hit with 320 rockets from Iran. So now, this thing with Iran is not over. So I'm going to have to add another chapter to the book dealing with the threat of Iran. And I'm going to be writing a chapter on Hezbollah. So I'm still in the process where every time I stop writing, some other thing breaks out, and I have to write about that too. But I think one day my 4th book in its 2nd edition will become a textbook.
Well, the Chrislam movement is a lie. It is a move towards the one world religion. I haven't heard more in the news about the Abu Dhabi project of the Christian building, the Jewish building, the Muslim building. Of course, the Christian can't have the cross in their building, but that is in line with Chrislam. And Rick Warren, if you haven't renounced Chrislam, you need to, sir, because it's a lie. Just do your history, do your research. And I know that I'm calling out people. I really don't care. I love you enough to be honest with you. It's time you snap out of this. You become men. You rise up and you stand for what you claim to believe your Bible says, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, to come to the aid of those who are under attack by evil, and they are facing a death cult and evil. Of course, we're facing the fact that our enemies own our government right now, and it's very obvious. And so we have to pray as much as we can, and we need to call leaders to account. It's time to have prophets back in the pulpit, not politicians or rock stars and motivational speakers. Those days are gone. Nothing has gone back to normal since the last pandemic, and so they're going to try it again. So we need real leaders to rise up, and it's probably not going to be the old guard. It's probably not going to be those who have become very, very rich at your giving, and propagating a lie. It's going to take real men of God like Jeremy Sutton in Midland, Texas, like Woody Robinson in Dallas, Texas, like many others who love Israel. They love you, Avi, and that they are real men, real leaders. It's a new generation rising up. There's that old saying, hard times create strong men, and strong men create good times, and good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Well, we've had the weakest as of late, and it's time to have the strong men rise up and stand together and to pray and to put their money where their mouth is. You believe in free speech? Go to glc.us.com. A lot of great ministries out there But you know what? If the truth is not being proclaimed on the airwaves, then we just give that over to the prince of the power of the air, do we not? Go to glc.us.com. I don't have to have a tax deduction to give to them, but they do have a tax deduction 501c3, and yet they continue to speak the truth without fear because God and his people owns GLC, no corporate entity or woke entity. And so another way, fantastic way, you're looking at him right now, Avi Litkin. I don't want your money. I don't need your money. But Avi Litkin, there in Israel, the organization he has, the Bible Block Party, as well as the publishing he's doing, the ministries that he's doing, the speaking that he's doing, he does need that. And he's worthy of that. So go to Chase Bank, Dennis Avi Litkin. Be sure and shoot him an email. You can find him on biblicalalliance.com to support him. You know, as we wind down in our last few minutes, what would you say to those who are starting to realize maybe they're coming out of this fog that they've been lied to about just about everything? But God is real and the Bible is real and Israel is the apple of his eye. How would you encourage those who are waking up now to take action for
Well,
Israel and for America?
all I can say is education. If Jews and Christians in America, and even Muslims who have a good heart and want to come out of the Islamic darkness, they have to get educated. They have to know the history. And it's very, very important for people, how shall I say, to look a little below the surface, a little underneath the spam of the mainline TV stations and radio programs that don't proclaim God, and explain the history of Israel, that Israel is a miracle from God. After 2,000 years, the resurrection of the Jewish state, the resurrection of the Hebrew language. And there are so many Christians now coming over to learning. They're good Christians. They believe in Christ, everything fine. But they're learning about how Jesus Christ lived. He lived as a Jew. And he was not a Palestinian terrorist. Jesus was not a Palestinian terrorist. This is one of the lies that they're telling. And so if American Jews and Christians do not study this properly, they won't understand the Jewishness of Jesus. And, you know, I always say this, many Jews and many Christians get very angry with me when I say that Jews and Christians are part of the same tree, you know, the olive tree, and we are together in this. And, you know, a tree cannot live without the roots, which is the Jewish people and Judaism. And a tree cannot live without the branches, which is Christianity. And I'm a total supporter of this. This is indeed at the heart of my Judeo-Christian Bible Block Party, that the Jews and the Christians have to march together, whether it be in Jerusalem or anywhere else in the world. And if we can learn to march together, then we will have the victory.
Well, it's time for men to be men, to decide. The word decide, decision, means to cut. It's time to be men. Stand up for your faith, your country. Stand up for Israel. The Bible tells you to. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Take action and be encouraged. We are in this. You weren't born as just a fluke during this time. You were born for such a time as this. And it's no accident. If you're watching me and still listening, don't worry about the people that are offended. They don't matter. They don't do anything anyway. They just criticize. They mask their criticism because they're cowards. We're looking for the movers and shakers who will pray for the peace of Jerusalem and who will support Avi Litkin. This has been As Goes Israel. We'll see you next time, Avi. We love you. God bless you. God save America, and God bless Israel.